Yeah, so thanks for having me. I'm Mayer Cunningham. I'm the special education boss. I train everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes.
And how did you get in the field? Why did you get in the field of education?
I wasn't planning on being in this field at all, John. I was planning on being happy and popular.
Okay.
I had a child diagnosed with a disability in the mid 90s, and sort of baptism by fire. And that's how I became an advocate. I was just like, a friend of mine said, listen, if your child is speech delayed in Texas, he can start school when he's 3. I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. He has a summer birthday, so we got him evaluated. And we sent him across the street with the Lion King backpack, the original one. And I was like, this is great because teachers fix things. We'll just send them there and they will come home, everything handled. That was not my experience. His teacher, after about 5 weeks of him being in school, called Child Protective Services on me and my
Wow.
husband because he was rocking all day and wasn't talking. And so that was my entree into special education, not
Wow.
the way I wanted to start. Um, and then I worked it out with my creator and forgave her. And lo and behold, 4 months later, we had another call. And the person at CPS was really actually so kind. And she just said, if somebody reports something, we have to follow up on it. And I went down to the Child Protective Services office like a lunatic, like I am, with my cart. Your cart that you have in special ed, it's a cart full of
Mhm.
papers already, right? And I said, "I wanna see my case manager," like, I know what I'm talking about, and the guy's like, okay." So we go up to her office, whoever, the lady was in charge, and she opens the door, and the lady standing there was probably 22 years old and 1 day, like, she just moved her tassel,
Wow. Yeah.
and I was like, "Do you know anything about special education or autism?" And she goes, I think when I was a sophomore, we had a seminar." I was like, "Oh, are you my leader?" But in that moment, she was the first person that had ever given me a resource, and she gave me a resource for MHMR of Travis County, mental health, mental retardation. We don't call it that anymore. And I thought, how odd that the first person to give me a resource was a child protective service worker. And fast forward almost 30 years later, it kind of sometimes is the same things. The people on the front line, the amazing educators and principals and teachers are um, not really able to openly support families all the time and tell them about resources, which is so bizarre to me, right? We live in America. And I was like, and so I became very obsessed with this law, with these students, with these teachers. And I was like, this is so easy. We have this law, and then we'll just go tell them at the school, and then they'll do the law thing, and then they'll give them special education, and we'll just call it a day.
Mhm.
And I was kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Mistaken, right? And so, I love people and I want them to be resourced, and so I just immediately started, I'll go with you, John. I'll go with Sally. I'll go with Terry, and it's this great little puzzle that when you put it together, kids win. And my mission statement is when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody, including the teachers. And so that's my heart. And it's so doable when we equip kids, they just win, right? And is it easy? No. Is any kid easy? Um, but I want to give people resources and processes and procedures and protocols to make this more streamlined so that we can all be successful instead of being so busy filling out software. We're focused on students.
Yeah. And how was that first IEP meeting with your yeah, your son's school?
Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I thought the school was in charge of the entire world. And, everybody has sort of this unholy alliance with schools, right? If there's somebody at the school said it, it's more important than the Vatican and the Pope, right?
Yeah.
Even today, right? And so they called me into a meeting and they had all these papers and they were talking in, I don't know, hieroglyphics and BIP and ESY and
Yeah.
PCS. And they were like, do you have any questions? And I said, um, if he eats something in your class or breaks it, are you gonna kick him out of school? And they're like, "No." I was like, "Okay, good." That was my only question
Mhm.
because he had pica and he would eat stuff. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. But, when you have a child with a disability, I always say for parents, we have to remember special education, a child with a disability is the emergency room. right? It never stops. Those parents are always in crisis. And I know it's hard, but we have to have compassion for them. And I just assumed that everybody at the school were special education law graduates and that whatever they said was true.
Yeah.
And, what I've learned is they're saying what they're told to say, right? I love teachers, but they're run by principals, right? Who are run by admin, who are run by some accountant somewhere, right? And so um, I want to be able to take down that barrier that we can all work together and serve kids at the highest level. And I might be 100 when we do that, but we're going to keep working on it.
So you're going through your son's IEPs, a couple of annuals, you get your triennial coming up, and when do you start to feel like you got this, you understand the process, you understand what's going on? How long did it take you to
Oh,
really
I
understand?
don't know. Not even today. I think I started to understand. When I first started, I thought they were all plotting against me and they had had
Uh,
17 meetings and they'd planned what they were going to say. Teachers don't even go to the bathroom. They don't have lunch. Most people in the meeting have never seen each other, right? And we all work in silos. And so when I realized that, that's when I was like, "Oh, well, this is part of the problem. Why we just need to have teachers just have so much time on their hands and resources and money, right?" And I know that all the people at the school, 99% of the people at the school are doing their very best with what they've been given. And
yeah.
we bring in teachers 5 days before school starts and shove all these papers in front of them. You sign them, go put your bulletin board up, and go Bobcats, right?
Yes.
And so, our most marginalized population, we've given the least equipping to their teachers, right? And that's not a parent issue, that's not a teacher issue, that's a state and leadership issue, but there is a gap there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just a little bit about my background. I was all gen ed. I was gen ed for 18 years, gen ed teacher for 18 years, and I become a dean of students, and I did that for 3 years, and I got a little taste of special education, but not really. It was just like, oh, this kid is misbehaving out of this sped classroom. Go into that room and go help out. Okay, let me go out there and help out. So I really had no sped background, nothing. And then I applied to be an assistant principal, and so I happened to assistant principal of special education. And I was like, all right, well, okay, let's do it. So I applied, I got the position, and there was so much stuff I didn't know. Just so much stuff I didn't know. And it just blows my mind to think that me with no special education background got put in this position to be assistant principal of special education, and it was like, wow, okay, let's do it. And just me being caring, and maybe that's why I got the job, me being caring and compassionate and always looking out for students. Like I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. What is this all about? What is this system that we put this information in and then we spit out an IEP? Like, how do I work this system? What is this program called? And you know, how do I run an IEP meeting? I remember sitting in these IEP meetings and just sweating, like, okay, I'm supposed to be in charge, but like, I don't really know what's going on. And I read the little pamphlet, the manual, but that's not enough, that's just not enough. And so thank God I had like a good team around me who helped me out. My psychologist,
Yeah,
my RST, everybody that worked, the nurse, everybody that worked with me, almost every IEP really helped me out. Really helped me out. And that first year was rocky, but I start to see things. You start to see things. You start to see some of the, like, wow, why don't we offer these things? Why don't we talk about that? Why don't we say these things?
yeah,
There's so much red tape around getting certain things.
yes,
There's so much red tape.
yeah,
Wow. Okay. I mean, I understand funding and all that, and okay. And so, like, years ago, this is my fifth year in this position. It's my fifth year in this position. I learned so much, and I watch your videos, and I'm like, okay, that's a good point. That's a good idea. That's a good point. Um, but I'm learning every day. Every day I'm learning, and I'm getting better at what I do every single day. And I don't know. It does blow my mind. And my goal at every IEP meeting is to make the parent, the family feel like they're heard. That
right,
whatever we can do, we're gonna do it.
yeah,
And here's the process. Let me be transparent. Here's the process. If this is what you're asking for, then let me be transparent. This is the process of how to get what you're asking for. We're gonna
right,
do this, this, and that. Um, and so what I bring to the table as, right currently. But I just wanna let you know that, and so but I really do feel the same way where, like, here are our students who need the most help, who are getting the least, have the least resources. Our teachers are don't get the training that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. It turns out, I have an academy that I teach every Monday night, and 75% of the people that I train, me, a college dropout, but I'm not a quitter, John. I've dropped out of a lot of colleges. Um, I'm training teachers all over the nation. Why? Because they wanna learn, right? And they're not getting that training at, their districts, and so, that's exciting to equip people, but when you say there's red tape, that's a gross understatement, right? I live in Texas where it's state law that you play football, and I believe in polyester and sports and all of that, but our children are never gonna be probably a school board meeting photo op, and the things that we care about and I was that person long before I had a child with a disability. I just grew up, you got a problem, get it together and overcome it, right?
Mhm,
And so many of our kiddos that we serve have what we call invisible disabilities, right? And you can hear in meetings biases from people. And I have just the same amount of biases as anybody else. I'm preaching to the choir here. If you and I are sitting somewhere and somebody walks up and weighs 600 pounds, you and I have a ticker tape of how they got there, right? And so for our kiddos that don't have a wheelchair and they don't have a white cane and they don't have nursing, we often have very little compassion for their output, right?
yes.
And I always say for kiddos with love behavior kiddos, there's a reason for that behavior. It didn't happen in a vacuum. He wasn't going all day Sunday, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see Mr. John and just give him trouble all week.
Mhm,
And we forget that these are children.
mhm,
Even with the most acute disability. These are children, right?
mhm,
They're not plotting against you. And so I want all of us to step back and remember this is a child. This is a child, right? And that when we give them resources, they flourish, right? And we need to think of them as we do all kids. All kids are general ed kids. I say all of my kids are RA. They're ridiculously amazing, but we've got to overcome those. Oh, if he wanted to, he could. John's not motivated. I go, good news. A disability is not a motivation issue. We don't need a pep squad, right? He,
mhm,
he has ADHD and three specific learning disabilities. Coming
mhm.
to work is not really a good fit because you want him to pay attention and read. He can't do either one of those. That's a pretty bad hand to be dealt,
Yeah.
right? And so, my heart is to, serve the committee, give them resources, and let's reframe in those present levels how we're talking about somebody's child who is sitting there, right?
Good point. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good point. What do you say to teachers who are like, okay, well, these students who can't listen need to get out of my classroom. They need to leave.
Yeah, and I would say to them, so I always say, when you say they can't listen, tell me what that means, right? And then they tell me the events that occurred, right? So the events that occurred, and we all have a purview, right? If you and I are standing outside and there's a car wreck, and the police officer gets our report, you and I will both say something different, and we
Mhm.
were both standing there. And so, the I can't, he won't listen, those are spoken word, problems. How about we speak life over him? And how about we give him resources, right? It's a whole child. What's going on with them sociological? What's going on? Maybe their last sibling moved away. Maybe their mom just lost their job. Maybe they can't pay their bills. There's a reason for every output. It doesn't happen in a vacuum.
That's right.
And the demand of school, how we treat and support and celebrate kids in school will follow them the next 80 years of their life. It just will. And
Yeah.
so we have to step back and take a breath, and this is a child. Even if they're 6 foot tall with a beard, they're children.
You'll get pushback and they'll say something like, what about the other 22 kids in the classroom? What about all those? How come it's very unfair for them? They're not learning. And then what about me? What about me? I come every day. It's just I'm dealing with this every single day, and I need to take a couple days off because of what's going on. And you'll get pushback like that all the
Yeah.
time.
And I always say that it has nothing to do with the teacher and the student. First of all, safety's primacy, right? If you're not safe, nobody's learning. But I get hundreds of comments a week. We have 1 million followers online, and teachers or parents will say to me, exactly what you said. So when do we care about the other 29? When we care about them all equally, somebody could come in there and rectify that. And how do I know that? Because I do hundreds of IEP meetings all over the nation. And when leadership steps in and people that are sitting in the admin ivory tower get up
Uh,
from their desk and serve students, he can be supported. You and I know that the continuum of service is everything from general ed to participating in the juvenile justice system. And so you could serve him. You could have provided the continuum of services. Because I know those teachers go down the hall and say, "Hey, Mr. Smith, I got to have help in here. You're doing great." Right. And so this is a leadership issue. It's not a
yeah.
teacher and student issue. And so it's been set
Mhm.
up for it to fail in some
You
situations.
you made this point. You made that point not too long ago. I watched one of your videos and you made that point. Maybe it was like this week sometime. You made that where it's a leadership video. I watched that video and I was like, yeah, she's right. It is a leadership issue.
Always.
Leadership does need to step in and do some things. And like I'm just gonna play devil's advocate right here. If you're at a school, a small school that has, let's say, 150 students, you don't got the same resources as a school that has 1,000 students.
Right.
So you might be the only administrator on campus. It might just be you, the principal, and then maybe a couple of other coaches that are outside the classroom. So there's maybe three people that are outside the classroom that could address behavioral issues at a school.
Right.
And so that's where it becomes overwhelming. And this is where it becomes, well, schools like this are underfunded. It's a system thing. It's higher than whatever is, it's above the principal there. Um, that is an issue that I feel like these smaller schools have, the lack of
Yeah.
resources, and then these behavior problems happen, and then who's gonna do it? Who's going to go and address that, but then still run the school?
Right.
Still keep the school going, still go to all the meetings. There's a budget. The budget's due, next couple weeks. Budget's due. You got ELAC meetings. You got all these other meetings. You
Yeah.
know, you got all these things. And so that it's just, you said something. You said it's the system is set up for it to fail, basically.
Yeah.
And damn, it feels like that's what it is.
Yeah. And here's what I know. I don't know a lot, but I've been doing this for almost 3 decades. I am allowed to represent families all the way through due process hearings and have done that. Federal complaints open. I promise you, John, when I come in and represent a family, whether we're in Cotulla, Texas, or the Kodiak Islands of Alaska, I promise you they can source students. I know because I sit in there all the time. I know that when I come into a meeting, they bring in attorneys. Well, like, why are you paying an attorney $700 an hour, right? If they always have the resources, and I mean this in the nicest way, it's never about money. In my 30-year experience, it's about power and position, right? And so we're not running low on coaches. We're not running low on principals. We're not running low on the science, the AP teachers, right? Because we pay them and we have to do a better job of appropriating funds, which is a federal issue and a
Yeah, it's a
state
federal
issue.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we, do the budget, because I tell clients, all the money for this school district was spent July 21st. It's gone, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I know that we can set up kids to win when we don't wait to intervene. So my biggest issue is that we wait, right? We wait. I come to you and say, Ms. Vergara, we're really struggling with Billy to read. He's doing great. We'll do RTI. And then we'll wait till Christmas. And then it's spring break. And then this thing doesn't happen in a flashpoint. It's happened over time,
Yeah.
right? And you know this. A lot of our quote unquote behavior kids are specific learning disability kids. They can't read. I get cases from, I live in Houston, I'm a mediator for the family courts, and I will get cases from judges and that they're going to sentence a young man or a young person because they participated in a crime. And I will look at their paperwork and their IQ is in the 5 percentile, which
Yeah.
means it was in the 5 percentile when they were in third grade.
Yeah.
But their adaptive behavior is off the charts, right? He's a quarterback, he's in the marching band, but we knew. I've never had a kiddo that we didn't know way back here that he needed something else. And then it
Uh-huh.
turns into this, right?
Uh-huh.
And obviously there's outliers everywhere. But it is set up for, the good part of special ed is amazing. The bad part of special ed isn't amazing. Additionally, people that run special education departments, and you know this, are left alone, right? Special education director for a district has a contract for 5, 6, 7 years, like the athletic director, right? And because all of our kids are so different, they don't get the voices that they need. If you and I had a daughter, and both of our girls were playing tennis at ABC High School, and something was going on with the coach, we would be down there in a hot minute.
Yeah.
Parents with a child with a disability, they're trying to get through Thursday.
Yes.
80% of them get divorced. Like, this is not, you know, nobody wants to have a child with disability. This is not some win. And so we just have to all step back and look at how we could pivot, and I think we can, and how we get more funding for my kid, who is the most expensive kid in your school that you think has the lowest ROI. Let's just say the truth and then have a conversation about it, right?
Yeah.
So my son graduated and, read at the level of a seventh grader. There's not an award for that.
Yeah.
There's none of that, right? But I can tell you what, you would never get a better employee. Never. He's completely recovered. He's a professional bowler on the PBA Southwest Regional Tour, the hardest working person you've ever met. But when we line them up and we rank children, shame on us. He was 15 from the bottom.
Mhm.
So, these are not stocks and bonds. We're not flipping houses. These are human beings.
And that's the disconnect where the human being part, like we're dealing with human beings, we're dealing with kids, we're dealing with families, mothers, fathers. You make a good point of, yeah, they're just trying to get through the week. They're trying to get through today. Like, can
Today.
they just get through today?
Yeah.
Like, there's kids who refuse to go to school, refuse to get on the school bus.
Yeah.
You know, there's I get calls like, "Hey, my kid refused to come on the school bus. We're gonna bring him a little bit later. He didn't want to come to school today," and they're really concerned, and they're really just trying to get through the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You make a lot of good points, and I wish there were some simple solutions. When I think about every time I'm in these IEP meetings, it's like, how do I help the family? How do we help the family? How do we make sure that this child gets what he needs and we help this family?
Yeah.
And to me, that's just the bottom line. How do we help them as much as we possibly can? Where they know that they could always come to school, and if they have questions, they could come and ask us, and we're going to answer their questions, and we can provide the resources for them, and just make them feel comfortable versus isolate them and keep them like, like, oh, I have a child with a disability. I can't really talk to it. I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to come in here, ask these questions whenever you
Yeah.
can, whenever you want. I think that that's so important. I'm over here in California, Los Angeles. Uh, there's a high Latino population here, and I feel like depending on the area, depending on the school, you get more resources or it's more affluent. And I worked in West Hollywood Elementary School many, many years ago, and I'm like, "Okay, they got all the resources. That school got all the resources." And then I'm over here on the east side, and it's a little different. It's
Yeah.
just a
I lived in Reseda for 4 years. I was going to be a famous celebrity. So turned out to be really good at marrying ketchup. So I lived in Los Angeles from 89 to 80 to 93. And literally, you can be in one very poor neighborhood and you go over Canoga Park and you're affluent, right? And so, um, but I can tell you, even affluent schools don't necessarily do special ed right. Part of the problem for kiddos with disabilities is you have parents that kind of fall into two categories. If I had a child that was struggling, I may not really have the resources for tutoring, but I'll get another job and get him a tutor, right? Or you have other families who don't necessarily know their rights. Maybe English is not their first language, and they're just told something how it is at school, and they just go away, right?
uh,
And both of those recuse the district from educating the student, right? And they're the ones that could do it. And so, and as parents, we all want our kids to be amazing and, pass the test and get good grades. My grandson told me the other day he got a color change. And I said, you know what? Gigi invented the color change, right? And so, it's not a perfect system. And as good advocates, we're not looking for perfection at all. Like, really, we're just looking for progress. And when we see kids and celebrate them, they would do anything that they could to reach up to what we're asking for them to do.
yeah, and when you pull up When you pull up to these meetings, you said they bring lawyers. How intimidated are they? Do they know do they
I'm not
even know
sure
who you are? Do they know who you are? Like, "Oh, this is Karen, the advocate." Like,
who I
they
am. So
do?
last month we had 9.5 million impressions on social media.
Wow.
Uh, and I'm a lot of fun till you lie. I'm a
Yeah.
lot of fun till you purposely deny a student a free appropriate education and you won't change it. And so it's not funny, but I have a family that I'm serving in Maynard, Texas, outside of Austin, and she pulled up the FOIA records for two kiddos with ADHD and SLDs. And in 2 years, the district has spent a district that has one high school, and
Uh,
they have spent for little old dropout me $67,000 for a
wow.
fifth grader, and like
Wow.
because I am not an attorney. I'm not any of those things, but I know the law. I know every bit of it. I know the application of it, and they bring attorneys for one reason, to bully parents. Right?
Yeah.
What are you doing? This is not some power play. Instead of spending those resources, I mean, $67,000, we could have taught everybody in Texas to read,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so, I don't care who shows up at the meeting as a professional stand-up comic. I love a crowd. But and it doesn't bother me what I'm going to share and what we're going to work through wouldn't be different if it was just two people or 20 people. But it's David and Goliath. The parents are outnumbered. It's almost always just a mom, and whether even if they're married.
You're
Um,
right.
I had a client that I represented in due process, and they literally got divorced during the due process, right? And
Wow.
so, um, you know, at the end of the day, I just want us to stay at the table and just keep working it out. We can work it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not all my way or the highway, but we're just trying to have a kid have an IEP with rigor so he can have some gains and have some skills to be an amazing adult.
Yeah. Yeah. I see your book in the back. Your epic IP book. I was gonna go purchase it off of Amazon. It doesn't come out until January. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
wait, it
go
doesn't come
purchase
out
it
until
now.
January."
Yeah, it's pre-order now. You want to pre-order it because it comes with $500 worth of pre-order bonuses. So you can go get it anywhere. It's on 130 platforms and then come back to the epicip.com, put in your information, and you'll get $500 worth of pre-order bonuses, which include a ticket to an all-day live mastery summit in February. But this is a labor of love. It's all of these years, and it's the exact same 7-part framework that I use, whether however, I've trained people nationally, and there's a saying that teachers, and I'm not a teacher, teachers can take something simple and make it complicated, right? And so this is boiled down to where any of us can pick it up and literally know how to write an IEP on a blank piece of paper. And then the why do we have these components, right? And so, for years as I've trained, people are like, "Do you have that written down?" I'm like, "No, I'm a talker. I'm a speaker. I don't write things down." And so I'm super excited. There's amazing heart stories in every chapter. At the end of every chapter, there's a checklist for parents, a checklist for educators, a checklist for advocates so that we understand
Mhm.
those components because the IEP builds on itself, right? I have an IEP Friday, and the paperwork is 113 pages long.
Wow.
What? Like,
Wow.
that's like, nobody's gonna read that. And half the times I will get IEPs, I'm like, which way is like, if I was a teacher,
Mhm.
I'd be like, never mind. I'll just do the best I can with Billy, right? We want it to
Yeah.
be clean and everybody picks it up and can see the child. The point of the IEP is, can I pick this up and see this child instead of all these
Mm.
boxes that I've checked? So we're super excited about it coming out.
That's a good point. Pick up my IP and see the child. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I
Like,
should
I'm
be
gonna
able to
pick
take the paperwork, come to the back of your class and go, based upon this description and there's Billy. I see him, right? Instead of,
Yeah.
oh, here's his state test score, because we all care about that, said no one, right?
Yeah.
I had an IEP one time from a very rural place in America, and I said to the attorney, because they like to bring attorneys for me, I don't care. And I said, so, you need to make sure that there's more information in the present levels. I need to pick them up and see how the disability impacts them across settings. And I'm not kidding you, John. They sent me the draft, and it said, she likes pigs and is good at math. I'm sorry, what? Is it me? Like, I don't. So she actually raised pigs, and she was good at, like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
right? And so, We just need to have some sort of measure of training. The other thing is, you know, you would think if you that we have more continuing ed hour requirements for people that change oil for a living than for special educators. Like, there's no requirement for them to take special education anything over time. And you and I both know it's always moving and changing. And so we're just all out there winging it. And John told me this, and then Sally told me this at the volleyball game, which is why everybody is doing things often so different.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm thinking about. I'm like the lack of training is a big issue. It's a
Yeah.
big issue, and it's so quick and it's so fast. And even if we did get trained, it's like okay, it's training at this time, a time where you're at the end of the day and you're tired and you really don't want to pay any attention anyway. And
Yeah.
it's through Zoom, and let's just get through it. And
Well, even like what you said, which is if I see somebody amazing in a meeting, I'll go, well, John, it was so great to meet you. You're amazing. I'll never see you again because admin is going to come in and scoop you up because you're a good teacher does not necessarily mean that you'd be a good special education coordinator, right?
mm,
And I've had so many friends that I had a friend that was a special education teacher, amazing. And she got recruited by the largest school district in Texas. It has 250,000 children. And they
wow,
said, you're the 504 director. And I said,
wow,
so tell me your training. She goes, they said, here's your office. I said, no, no, really, but tell me your training. She goes, no, no, there's your office. Like, what the Hello Kitty are we doing? Right? This
yeah,
is like you would want the training, but it's just we just put people in positions and we wonder why they don't know what they don't know because
yeah.
we didn't care enough about our employees to train them, right?
Yeah. And I guess, your book in the back right there, just coming back to your book, that's a perfect I'm gonna buy your book. I'm gonna read this thing because I need the training. I need the
Oh,
training
yeah.
as much as anybody else does.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanna read that chapter, those chapters you're talking about, and I think that we all need that training. We all need something to help us out.
And I
Let's
have
talk
a
a little bit more about that book, though.
you
If
what?
we just talk a little bit about that book, though, a little bit more. So, I just for me, how long did it take you to write that book?
29 years. So I
29 years?
Yeah, I didn't wanna write it. I still don't want to write it. I'm not a writer, I'm a speaker, and so, I worked with, a team, and I spoke the book. I literally would log on with myself to Zoom and train for hours just like I train, and then they would say, "Well, we're missing this piece. You need to expand here," right? Because the spoken word, being a entertainer, a comedian, a speaker is very different than the written word, right? I didn't know there were so many semicolons. I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I think potato has an E, right? And so, um, this book is going to change the world. And I think I'm so excited about it getting in the hands of educators because I hope that it reignites their love for what they do. The some of the school systems that are set up, we just beat the fire out of our teachers. Like, why can't we wear jeans? Who's paying for jeans? Like these rules, and I want people to be re-energized about this space because these kids are amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I was speaking when you're talking about speaking, and then somebody writes the book. I did this is kind of on topic of what you're saying. I use ChatGPT, and I script all of the things before. Maybe when I first started social media, I would script what I would say on social media. I type it all up, and then I would just read it and then cut my
What?
video. Yeah, I would script it, and then I'd read it, and it looks like I almost memorized the whole script. I would just read it and cut it and read it and cut it. That's how I started off on social media. Now I could talk freely, but I would script it, and I had like a year and a half of scripts of stuff. So I took all of that. I took all of that, and I just put in the chat GBT. I said, "Here's all the things that I talked about over the last year and a half.
Yeah,
What exactly am I? What is my mission? What is my goal? What are my topics? What are the same topics I always and it spit out like this perfect thing. Like, oh yeah, that is me. And so I'm like, this is amazing. This I could probably write a book just on
yeah,
that year and a half of scripting
yeah.
stuff for social media. Um, but Yeah, so that's how you wrote the book. It took you 29 years, you spoke into it and
GPT, me and Chat GPT are like my first husband. It looks like it's gonna work and then nothing.
yeah.
So, no, I just, it's the same if I'd come and train your district. It's the same thing that I teach. I just had never written it down. Like, I don't even know how to get something out of the chat. Like, if you said, I'm going to give you $1 million if you get something out of the chat, I would be like, it's nice to meet you. And so, because I'm a hands on person. But yeah, I was so glad that I wrote it because it's so important. And if I wasn't tied to a publisher, I probably wouldn't have finished it because it's like a lot of work
Yeah.
and edits and edits and edits but I'm so excited that it's coming out.
Oh, I'm excited too. I can't read it. I can't read it. I can't wait to read it. Um, how much public speaking do you do?
I
How
do a lot
often
of
do you
public
a
speaking,
lot?
yeah. So I've been doing stand-up professionally since '89. I have a dry bar comedy special. Have you ever heard of dry bar?
No.
So if you go on YouTube and type in dry bar comedy, Karen Mayer Cunningham, like Leanne Morgan, we used to do comedy together in Austin. So I've been speaking for years and training. That's very different than the written word. And yeah, so I love equipping people. There's nothing that makes me happier than to equip people. I do a professional development called Oh No, Karen's Coming, which I love, right? And people get to send in their questions ahead of time and say exactly what they think of me at a meeting or advocates at a meeting. And I'm like, let's talk about that. You feel I intimidate you. Let's unpack that. Did I intimidate you, or did you realize that maybe you weren't quite equipped at the table for the questions that I would have, right? And as somebody that represents families in federal complaints and state complaints and due process hearings, I'm very intimidated, even though I'm allowed to represent families in legal settings. I don't have a law degree. I don't have a college degree. And so I am often feel intimidated when I'm in a room, an experience, and a mastermind with people that are at a higher level than me. But I'm not here to intimidate you. I'm here to ask questions, which your leadership should have already taught you and been trained on, right? Like silly questions like, John, do you have any data to support this recommendation? I had this lady one time, I said, I wasn't able to find your data in open records. She goes, that is so personal. Yeah, it is? I didn't ask how much you weighed. She
Yeah.
goes she goes, "What did she say?" She goes, "Those are records of personal memory." What?
What
What
is
does it
that?
mean? I don't even
Yeah.
have I can't even find my keys, right? You're in charge of a child for a whole year, you're a speech pathologist, you remember what happened last October? Yes, I do. Oh, whatever supplement you're taking,
Yeah.
tell me about it. But we don't, you know, we put these young teachers or whatever teachers into these IEP meetings. We don't prep them. We don't prep them that, she might ask for data. She might ask for, where's the baseline, right?
Mhm.
She might say things about the IEP because that's my specialty, right? Is it funny? It's not funny, but people online that don't like me, people either adore me or they're wrong. Just kidding. People either adore me or don't adore me, right? And they will tell me what they think of me. And often I get this, I shouldn't be allowed to be an advocate because I haven't been a teacher.
Mhm.
So I'm not advocating to be teachers. I'm advocating for a child with a disability to get an IEP, right?
Yeah.
But that has been set up and perpetuated by leadership, not from teachers and advocates, right? So if you were going and buying a house, I wouldn't go, oh my God, I can't believe John got a realtor to buy a house. Right? If you were investing money, like, "John, why did you get a broker? We work together. You could've just asked me." And we
Yeah.
shame parents for getting an advocate. Why? Right? And so we just need to, debunk all of this imaginary adversity that we have between each other. I always say that the IEP table should be a circle cut in half and then shoved up against a mirror, and we can all look at the one side of the table. I don't advocate for schools. I don't advocate for parents. I advocate for the child with a disability, right? And
Yeah.
so I always tell people when I'm training them that if you're not servant hearted, you know, log out of this training, we'll get you your money back. But if you're not in the service business, you don't want to do this. And we're here to equip the team, not to
Yeah.
scold the team, not to call them out, like really, but to equip everybody. Like, where did you get that? I'm like, eric.ed.gov. Where did you get that? Right? Reading Rockets 1999 so that we can all do better, right? Because most teachers are dying for more quality training.
Absolutely. How did you get into social media?
Uh, so I don't know if you heard of this where you live, but we had this thing in Texas called the pandemic. I don't know if it made it to California. And March 13th, 2020, our governor came online and said that schools were closed. And I was like, well, guess what? I am now unemployed and homeless because as
Yeah.
an advocate, I went into school to do IEP meetings. And so that night, I put on a lot of concealer because I'm old. And I would sit in the corner of my room and go, okay, this right here, this is a lie. See this? That's a lie. That's not true. Here's the statute. I'm a big mouth and I'm going to run it. And I wanted my clients to have resources and not to be afraid any more than they already were about them being denied even more of a public education. And, I just went on every night like I was the nightly news.
Yeah.
And then the questions came, right? Social media will tell you people's pain points and from there, I started training, and we have an online academy. And it's just crazy that you can serve people all over the globe that have the same mission that you do.
Yeah, so that's what it was, and you started on what platform do you start on? Do you remember?
Yeah, the great Facebook. That's what all.
Facebook.
Yeah, and in 2009, 2017, I started on Facebook, and then I was watching a YouTube video of Gary Vaynerchuk
Uh-huh.
interviewing Mr. Wonderful, and he said, because Gary's a lot like me, he's so sweet and soft, like I am.
Yeah.
He said, "If you're not on TikTok, you're an idiot." And I said, "Well, I'm a lot of things, idiot not one of them." And so in March of 2021, I started TikTok, and now we have right at 600,000 followers, and it's crazy, amazing, painful. I mean, if you have feelings, don't get on social media. I had a lady the other day it's go, she obviously got her eyes done. I'm like, "I did, because 'Cause they're hanging over the." I'm like, "I didn't get." Like like, what? People are
Yep.
like, "Why are
Yep.
you wearing that nail polish?" What? I'm talking about a
Yeah.
manifestation determination resolution meeting. Why do you have on 2 bracelets? Oh my gosh, are you the bracelet police?
Mhm.
You're like, "What?" But the fact that we get to serve people that need our information, I am recognized a lot wherever I go, and um, when people come up to me and they're crying, usually I'm like, "Did I make you cry? Did I traumatize?" Right? And they're like, "I live in Minnesota, and my daughter couldn't read, and I said what you said, and I got the 8 areas of testing, and she's reading now, and she's doing so good." Like that's everything, John. I mean,
Yeah.
that's everything, right? And so we put out 52 pieces of content every 24 hours.
52 pieces of how big is your team?
It's me. I'm the team. And then I have a part-time manager, and then I have a VA in the Philippines, but I've only had her for a year. So we put out 12 pieces on TikTok, those same 12 pieces on Two Business Facebook, um, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, every day. It's all about speed and volume.
Yeah, that's a lot. So 12 different pieces of content every single day, and I'm figuring you get it off of your, when you're doing your Zoom meetings or whatever.
Yeah, no, not my IEP meetings. That would be fun, would it? So every Monday, this is how simple it is. Every Monday, I go live. Wait for it on my Android because smart people use an Android. It's okay. And then push I push record, and on my other laptop, I have a couple of my partners, they read questions in the comments. I go live for an hour and then stop it. I don't edit anything. I don't adjust the lighting. I got a Loom cube and some L'Oreal lipstick. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, even better. And then she chops it up and puts some graphics over it. We put it out. And so she just mixes up my 5,462 blazers.
Wow.
It's about speed and volume. You can never put out
Wow.
enough content. You just can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, but yeah, I try to do at least, just doing one piece of content is hard for me. Just doing one piece of content is hard for me. Um, and then for the majority of the world or whoever, they to even put out content is difficult in
Well,
general.
I'm not putting out content. I'm documenting myself, right? So if you went live, John, if you just said, and I go live every Monday night for 1 hour, 1 hour. So 4 hours of my month, I get all this content. Question, answer, question, answer. Give me question answers you can answer 100. If you just went live and said, going to answer your questions about education, here they come. Like, so about, 15,000 people will log in and out in an hour. Question, answer, question, answer. And we probably have 100 questions still left, right? So That's the
I
content.
gotta do the volume thing. I gotta do the volume thing because
Sure.
I part of me is like I have this thing in my head where I think like, well, not who's gonna want to see my face so many times? Who's gonna want to hear me that many times? They're gonna get tired of what I have to say, and so I'll just like just do one piece of content here. I'll just do one piece of content here.
Yeah.
That's what I think, and maybe that's wrong thinking.
Overthinking. You're so, perfect's never done. That is never perfect. People could care less. They care about two things: your content and good audio. I mean, get a good light, but they need your knowledge because of your scars and missteps. They don't have to walk in them. There's something that you say that can change literally a child's life. A parent has hope, right? You have the knowledge. You're the principal, like, right? You have stuff that we need to know, and so and people say all sorts of things. This guy one time he goes, "If you were a song, it'd be hot for teacher." I said, "Well, good news. I'm a dropout, so I'm not a teacher." So question answer. I just go live because we want to teach people what we want. People want what they need, not what we want, right?
Yeah.
And so we give them what they need, and there's always something to talk about. And it's just called Ask the Advocate. This is a low barrier to entry, and I tell people all over the world this. People, no, it needs to be complicated. You need to have okay, my cell phone on a $50 Joby right here.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I gotta start doing that, and I could do it with the podcast. I could do it with this podcast right here.
Or you can have
So,
lunch and learn with John, right? Grab your tuna fish sandwich while you're waiting for your kids to come in. Come on in, let me know your questions. It doesn't matter, whatever their questions are, right?
every time I invite somebody on the podcast, it's rare that they have more followers than me. It's rare that somebody actually gives me advice on what I should do when it comes to social media. It's very rare. It's very rare. And you make sense.
I know.
I'm like, I'm
So
gonna try to put out more pieces of content.
they're in the
I'll,
beginning,
I'll,
like, she can't be right. And then I looked it up. You're right. Right. And so the fact that we have the ability to get our message out of the whole globe from this little thing, like, and that's all my content is: question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, and then a resource, right? People need They need resources. And, in education or general education, they don't need it today. They needed it yesterday. They don't have time to go to a seminar or read a book. They need it now. People are desperate to educate our kids, right? And I think that if we switch from being so busy graduating kids to actually educating them, we'd be in a totally different place, right? Who needs to know 2 years of a foreign language? No one. Who needs to
uh-huh,
know the sum of an obtuse triangle? No one. How
uh-uh,
about being kind? How about doing what you said you would do? How
uh-huh,
about holding the door open for somebody, right?
uh-huh.
And so, yeah, this platform has been such a blessing to me. It's weird when people are like, "Are you this?" Yes, and my husband's like, "Oh my gosh," he's like, "Really?" So
It's happened to me a few times. It's funny. It's funny when it happens. I don't know how to react. I just don't know how to react to
oh,
it.
just go, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you." This
Yeah,
lady
I do that, but it's just
crying, and she goes, "Can I get a picture?" I said, "Well, you're crying in public, so it's gonna be really weird if we don't get a picture, right?" So, but I mean, that's why we do it. That's why you do it, right? You're doing it to serve people.
I wanna help, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. I wanna help. I wanna help people understand that the students with difficult behavior follow people.
Yeah.
They follow people.
Yeah.
That's what they do, and you need to build those relationships with those kids. That's what you need to do, and here's how you build those relationships with these type of students.
Absolutely.
That's what all of my message really boils down to, and then I've been starting to think about like, well, what about, health? Your health is important. You need to take care of your health because this job will run you down.
Yeah.
This job will run you down. And then more specifically, men's health, like men's health. I saw this terrifying stat that like something like 61,000 men commit suicide every single year in the United States. I'm like, that is so sad.
Yeah.
So sad to hear that 61,000 men will commit suicide this year. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that's crazy. And so that's another avenue. I'm like, man, men's health, like I don't know. I feel like my content's been shifting, just been shifting a little bit, and it's like, okay, there's so many things I want to talk about. I
Yeah.
have so many things I want to talk about, not just about education necessarily, but just health and how to be I don't know, there's just a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot on my mind right now.
It is.
Um,
How many followers do you have?
right now on TikTok, I have 66,000, and then on Instagram, I have 22,000. So it's usually just Instagram and TikTok. On YouTube, I'm starting. That's a whole different beast.
Oh
YouTube
my
is a
gosh,
whole different
YouTube
beast.
is like there's no
Yeah.
it's like salmon. It's like I went up point 1 in 6 months. You
Yeah.
gotta earn it on YouTube.
You do gotta earn it. It is not easy, and so, like, it's discouraging. It's like, "Man, I've been doing this for how long, and I barely got this? That's crazy." And then you see some people that put out the most ridiculous videos, and you're like, "How did that get 60,000 views? How
Yeah.
did this person making spaghetti get 60,000
You know
views? I
why?
don't get
Because
it."
people want a distraction from their real life. You know, one of I was, doing a keynote in Nashville about a few months ago, and I said it was about, being a social media boss, and I said, "I looked up the people that I follow. I follow Michaela, who talks like this from Long Island, who wears way too much makeup. I never wear I don't do it I just like her, and but the number 1 account that I follow is SB Mowing. It's some guy that goes into some
Oh,
rundown neighborhood and
yeah,
mows. And
yeah,
John,
I
they're like
follow.
6-minute videos. I watch
Yeah,
the whole thing and I know how it's
yeah,
gonna it's
yeah,
so reinforcing, right?
yeah,
What
yeah.
is he doing? He's documenting your life. So stop making content and start documenting your life.
That's a good point. I'm gonna throw there's this person I watch that all he does is he has a bunch of goats and he goes to backyards and he just lets they hire him and the goats just eat the grass and
Yeah,
clear out all the
yeah.
clear it all out, and I watch the whole thing. I'm like, "Oh, this is amazing."
It's
I'm
amazing.
watching goats eat grass.
It's such a nice distraction from all the goofy stuff on TV, right?
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, and so, people want to be connected to hope, they wanna be connected to change, and they wanna be connected to possibility, and that's what you bring. I've always loved your content. I was like, "He's quite a smarty pants," and, there's so much competition even in schools that I see. I don't work in a school. I'm gonna wear whatever pants I want, and, I think it's such a great resource for educators. All educators should start their own channel because 'cause you're so stinking smart, right? But we can't even get in the building anymore and to share that, right? And the way that you love kids and love families, I mean, you could be principal of the United States of America.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I
Yeah.
greatly appreciate your time. Um, it was a really honor to have you on the podcast. Like I said earlier, when you were the first person to duet one of my videos, and I thought it was such an honor. I was like, "Oh, she duetted my video. Who is this? Oh, she has so many followers. Oh, it's so cool." And this was years ago. This was, I don't know, 2 years ago. I still remember it. I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool."
That's awesome.
Yeah, but thank you so much for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.